Hi guys, welcome to the Collegepreneur Podcast, the podcast that interviews college students, startups about their origin, current successes, and goals for the future. In today's episode, I spoke with the ChitChat founding team, which consists of Kush Mallick, Jake Brown, and Bella Werner. In today's episode, we discuss how ChitChat went from a high school app idea to now a full-fledged tech startup 2 years later. Before we get into the episode, here's a quick trailer from ChitChat about their app.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go! Let's go! Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Hey guys, thanks for coming to Collegepreneur today. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Pretty good, thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. Before we get into anything else today, could one of you tell me the elevator pitch for ChitChat?
All right, elevator pitch. So basically, a few years ago, I was thinking about different messaging platforms, and I noticed that they all kind of look the same and have been doing the same thing for the past 10 or 15 years since they came out. There's been minor updates here and there, but there hasn't really been any innovation, and that's because of the huge monopolies in the industry from Google, Meta, and Apple. And so because of this, there's been no push in technology, and so we want to strive to make the ultimate cross-platform messenger that really gives people the access to customize, really gives them a good sense of privacy, integrate different apps inside of it, and then also bring together in communities.
Awesome. Anything, Kush, Bella, that you want to add to that elevator pitch?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk a little bit more specifically about what we like to call our 4 pillars, like Jake mentioned. So starting with customization, you can customize the app in a variety of themes and colors, and you can change the fonts across it. So that really gives users the ability to match their aesthetic within the app. Jake?
Another thing we're focusing on is privacy. So, for example, some messaging apps let you have Face ID for the app itself, but here we want to have it for every single chat individually, and you can decide which ones you lock, which ones you don't. We also want to have end-to-end encryption, and in the future possibly even quantum computer encryption. Something we'd look into.
High tech.
Yeah. There's been
We
stuff.
are with
There's
the
been
times.
stuff in the news. Apple recently just launched their quantum computer encryption because they do believe in the next few years there's going to be these quantum computers that can crack the current end-to-end encryption, and so really future-proofing that for our users, I think would be a good way to start it out.
If you didn't already mention, privacy is one of the other main pillars of...
Privacy, especially with that Face ID. And if you don't have Face ID, there'll be a PIN password as a backup, so when you're on your other devices, it will still work. Those are I think 2 of our big pillars. Another one is going to be integrations. So integrating your favorite apps, such as ESPN for sports scores, something like Spotify, so you can share music with people and see what other people are listening to, and then having our own custom ones, such as lists and stuff like that. So if someone goes to the grocery store, you're hey, can I get this, this, and this? Instead of clogging up the chat and making it all difficult, just putting it into one collaborative list that everyone can see. And so those will be the integrations. We'll also hopefully open it up to developers to create their own and submit them to our store and get vetted.
Yeah, and then the last one is communities. So obviously, you go to a messaging platform to obviously talk to your friends, talk to your circle, but also you want to obviously expand your own network, right? So we do that in the way that it asks you 5 different things that you're interested in, and then it shows those on your profile. So you can not only add friends through mutual friends, but you can also add them through mutual interests. And then it gives you the option to, if you want, join ChitChat community so you can talk about similar things, similar topics.
Awesome stuff, guys. So with such a well-rounded app like ChitChat, how did all 3 of you come together as co-founders to found such a new novel idea on the messaging app concept, if you will?
Yeah. So it all started out, I think we're a little bit past 2 years now. And so I was like sitting in a class and I started to get pretty frustrated with iMessage. Just it kept being like buggy and stuff. And so there was like no integrations because I wanted to like send someone something. And so then I started looking online to see if there were any good alternatives, but they all looked the same. And so I was like, well, this is not great. We need like a better solution. And so I went on GitHub and I was just kind of tinkering around with like different messaging app templates that people had made, just like having fun. And then I started coming up with like actual like feature ideas of like what could like make it better. And then I started to talk to other people about it. And that's when I ended up meeting Kush like later in the fall. We were out at dinner, and he thought that
we all went to high school together, by the way. That's how we all know.
Yeah. So yeah, we all were in high school together, and I think we all like knew of each other and were like friendly-ish, but we weren't like super close. Yeah. And so I was out to dinner with like a group of people, and Kush happened to be there, and I was just talking about the idea, like spitballing, and he like really liked it. So then he came on and joined up, and so then we started looking for other people to join the team as well. And then I would say later on in the year, probably like around like November-ish, I was in class with Bella, and I would be like making the UI in class just because like I wanted to get stuff done. And I'd be like, hey, like, what do you think of this? And then she would like give me feedback on it. So I was like, why don't you just join the team? So then Bella came on as our head of recruitment at the time. Since then has been changed over to head of marketing. And so that's kind of how the founders came together on the project.
Awesome. And what would you say like the collective passion is amongst the three of you that like had, I guess, Bella and Kush like want to pursue ChitChat? Because you could have said, oh, that's cool, and move on with your life. But here you are today, 2 years later. What is that combined passion, you would say?
Well, I mean, with Jake, like, he's very passionate about technology, and myself, I'm very passionate about tech startup and that kind of. I mean, I've been always passionate about technology as well, but I think this was just where both those interests really met for me, at least.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, Jake's passion is really something that stood out to me. And then also, on top of that, I've been planning on going to business. I have a passion for entrepreneurship. This was an opportunity that I saw to work with someone like Jake and Kush, who, again, are both passionate about it. And I just thought the app was interesting and something I wanted to work on.
Just like another thing is just that this app is not only like for obviously like other people, but first and foremost, like we would find a lot of use out of it too in our personal lives. Like we're just like, why hasn't this been around? And we're really like, we have this actual problem and like we're trying to solve it.
Could you identify some of the other problems you've seen in like really popular messaging apps right now? Because you had mentioned your frustration with iMessage. Was there any other?
Yeah, it was just like I could literally pull out like the original iPhone. I have it at home, and like the app looks identical. Like
Really?
like pretty much. So like there's no like I like to customize stuff, and I think a lot of people in our generation do. Like my favorite color is blue, and so like I would love to be able to like customize that and like make it like blue and just
have
make
a lot of gradients. He loves
those
gradients.
The gradient, it looks more like modern and nice and pulls everything together. And Apple's iMessage just looks very blocky. And so does WhatsApp. WhatsApp's just basically like a carbon copy of that. And so there's nothing like you can really do to like play around with it, even though it's like your device. The way I talk about it is I think when they came out with like these apps, it was people were just like migrating over to these like smartphones from like the texting ones. And so they kind of built an app that was just kind of meant for like everyone to try to get people over and make it as easy as possible and as simple as possible. And then they just kind of forgot to like update them. And so I think we're at a point now in technology where like kids are growing up on it. A lot of people in like their 50s and 60s like have iPhones and Androids and are like really using them every day. And I think we're at a point where now it's time to start migrating everything and making a push for innovation.
Yeah, if you like think about how many messaging apps you have on your own phone, like I don't know, me personally I have iMessage, WhatsApp, GroupMe, Snapchat, you could say, Facebook Messenger. There's a reason why we have so many. They all have their own features, but there's no one that has every feature that you want. So that's another thing. Like, why can't we make a messaging app that just has everything in one spot? Like, why do you have to bounce around, have different conversations on different apps?
GroupMe is a great example of that. Like, why do we have that? Like, we should just be able to create a group chat or a channel that then you can just click copy link, send it to someone, or send it out to like groups of people. They can join, and then they're just in the group chat. Yeah. We don't need a whole other app for it. We should just have it into your native one.
And with that, that's really what we're pushing with ChitChat. We always say that the purpose of ChitChat is so that you can create a chat for any purpose, and you can create the messaging experience to whatever needs and wants you might have.
Yeah, so I guess the idea is to take all the features that are already out there, put in one, and then add new stuff. Like, so not only do you have to not bounce around to different apps for different messaging features, but like, let's say there's an integration with Venmo. You could just send money through Venmo on your messaging app. You don't even have to go to the other app, all in one.
Would you be able to speak more on integrations with ChitChat? I think that's a really unique feature that other messaging apps aren't really pursuing right now.
Yeah, definitely. So I know that you may have like iMessage and they have like Game Pigeon. They kind of started with like some sort of app store thing, but they didn't really push it, and so there hasn't really been any like updates to that. Like, it's the same Game Pigeon apps. It's like stickers and stuff, but no one uses that. And so we really wanted to bring in like useful apps that people use all the time that you're bouncing back and forth between. And so right now, sports scores, like, people love texting about that. I do it all the time with my friends and family. And so not having to bounce back and forth between the sports app and my messaging app would be awesome. And so since we're from Boston, obviously we love the Celtics. And so when let's say you're messaging about the Celtics, you can just click that little plus button in the bottom left-hand corner, and then you'll be able to scroll down and click on ChitChat Sports. Hopefully in the future, maybe like ESPN or something will integrate, but you'll click on ChitChat Sports. You'll be able to pick a league. So let's say you click on the NBA, and then it will list all the games that are going on for that day.
Oh, wow.
And so you can have like your favorite team at the top. So the Celtics, let's say tonight they're playing, I think, the Dallas Mavericks. And so it'll be at the top. It'll show like whatever like the spread is and like at what time it is, and maybe what station it's on. And so you click on that, and then it will just drop it right into the chat. And so at the top of the chat, it'll just kind of be like floating there. And so it'll have a live scoreboard and be updating. And then let's say you click on the Celtics, it'll actually show you the stats of the players like live. And that way you don't have to keep switching back and forth. But let's say you're done with it, you just click on the X, and then it will go away, and you can continue on talking about other stuff.
That is awesome.
Sports gambling has been on the rise with DraftKings and FanDuel being legalized in many states. And so a lot of people are texting about it. And so hopefully one day we'll be able to integrate DraftKings so you can actually see like your bets of like, let's say you took like Jason Tatum for 25 points. It'll like track that and show it to you while you're messaging. So if it like doesn't hit or something, you can be like, oh God, he's only 3 points away. Like, I'm so close. And so I think integrations are a big way right now. If we can get on the like sports like gambling train, that can definitely be a really popular feature. And then moving into other apps as well, maybe like Spotify or Netflix or something like that. Stuff that we haven't even thought of yet can be integrations inside of ChitChat.
Awesome.
Definitely for the future though, because like reaching out to these huge companies
until we have a user
have to
base.
have a name, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why right now we're focusing more on integrations that like our
We
development can make. And then moving into like integrating big apps that people use.
I'd also like to say that like again, our whole purpose is like creating the perfect messenger, right? And with that being said, like where we might have blind spots, we might not see what users want. And we have a spot on the ChitChat store where users will be able to request different themes, different apps, different widgets built in, so that if they need something, we can give it to them. And ultimately, that's the whole point.
Playing into customizability.
Exactly.
Like, make it so that the users can make it their own.
It's your phone. It's your app. It should operate the way you want it to be.
Awesome.
So another problem that I was like facing is like a lot of times I'll like text people. I'll be like, hey, like, do you want to like go like do this like at this time or whatever? And then they like don't respond, even though it's like time, like it's somewhat like time sensitive. Even if it's not time sensitive, it's annoying when someone doesn't respond for a few days. And then I'll like see them or whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh my god, I completely forgot! Like I opened it." It happens to me too sometimes.
They respond in their head.
Yeah, exactly. But what if there was a button that you could be like, "Hey, remind me in like 20 minutes to respond because maybe I gotta go ask someone to like make sure I'm available," or we may even have like some sort of like AI to recognize if they asked a question and then it will remind you automatically. So that was a big problem I was facing, and I was like, iMessage does not have this. Like we need some app to have this like remind me
That
feature.
would be helpful.
Yeah.
And like going back to what Jake was saying about like GroupMe, like the main purpose of them using GroupMe is like it's specific to like organizations and stuff like that. Like you want to use polls, you want to use like as we were mentioning, like the to-do list and whatnot, like those kind of things are just standard things that we felt that should be integrated in like just any group chat that you might have. Like whether you're like figuring out what movie you want to watch with your friends, whether you're just trying to figure out something like where do we want to go out to eat with your family, stuff like that. And then like another problem that we recognize that's really pertinent in the industry overall is the whole battle between the green bubble and the blue bubbles. There's been like a lot of like campaigning from Google against Apple because of them creating that divide, and we're just like the bridge between that is these third-party messengers that really come in and create a market for that, or like disrupt the market for that.
So going back to high school, all three of you come together now, still in high school, by the way, which is crazy. You're all freshmen, correct?
Yeah, freshman
freshman
college
college
now.
now.
Awesome. All freshmen in the room today.
Oh, yeah.
We love to see it.
Class of 27.
But yeah, you're all in high school together. What's next now that you're a team?
Yeah, so now that we're a team, none of us know actually like how to code. So that's our
big
next
issue.
big hurdle, was finding a developer that would do it for equity in the company because we didn't have any funding. And so that's where Bella came in as our head of recruitment to be able to create job postings. I think our main source was LinkedIn at the time.
Yeah.
And so we were able to find one developer, and he was able to work with us for a little bit, which was great, and we were able to move things along. But then unfortunately he had some other commitments, and so he wasn't able to work with us anymore. And so our biggest challenge was definitely finding those developers.
I would also like to add during that time, I was looking for interns to help the lead developer. And so a challenge was we couldn't find a lead developer that stuck. So like the interns didn't really have anyone to lead them. And then they also kind of dropped off like as time went on. So we really needed that lead developer to like carry the team. So
Yeah,
And
so
at the time, if I could cut in quick, like what were like the primary things in this very alpha version of ChitChat? What were you looking to get coded? Because you're at nothing,
Correct.
essentially. What
So-
were the primary things?
Yeah, so we were at a little bit above nothing at the time, which was I had gone on Fiverr, that like app where you can
Yep.
get like logos done or like something, and I was like, I need like an app, and so I spent, I think it was like $1,000, the worst
my.
$1,000 I've ever spent in my life, and so because I wanted an app because at that point it had been like almost a year and I hadn't had any progress on like the app. So I was like, maybe if I have a base app, like someone just doesn't want to start it from scratch. But if there's a base app that they have something to work with, and maybe they're more incentivized to join the team.
Interesting.
And so we had that version. And so we did have this very like alpha version, which was basically like you can sign up, you can send a message, and you can receive message. And like that was it.
Nice.
Very buggy. And it was based off of an old UI that we had done. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we had at the time. And then right around now, I think we're at January of 2023.
Yep.
So one
And
semester left in high school.
one semester
Yep.
left in high school. We're like, all right, like at the time this was right before the developer that we had like left who was making progress. And so we were like, all right, like we're going to form an LLC. We're going to be like a legal company in the state of Massachusetts. And we did that. And so then we became an official company. So that way we could get access to certain like developer tools that we needed.
Nice. So in the time span of January of 2023 to the fall when all of you started college, notably at different schools, what pivotal like points or steps did you take in those months to get from, I guess, still in high school to now entering college in the fall? What changed with ChitChat, or what further developed?
Well, I just want to start off with like, first of all, like in January, like by the time January came, we were like burnt out from college apps because we were
Oh my
just
God,
like
yes.
it wasn't just like just ChitChat, just school. It was trying to balance both and
extracurricular activities. It was a lot.
So sometimes like ChitChat had to take a back seat so that we could get those things done. But like now we were kind of getting done with those other things with college apps and whatnot, and we were just like, okay, let's try and get some more work done on this. Let's push it forward. And I think that's when we were like, okay, they're definitely industry experts and whatever connections we can leverage to try to get some more like feel on this and get some more understanding as to what can we do to really push it forward. Because I mean, we're obviously like new entrepreneurs. We're trying to figure out, getting a feel for the space, getting a feel for how it is to run a company. So just trying to learn from experts. That's what it is. And I think that's what really started pushing us towards, well, obviously like we were obviously developing the app, but just getting advice.
And where were you like getting advice from? So you said like entering the entrepreneurial space. Do you have any specific examples that you pursued or
so that at least in like pre-fall, those like early days, there was this one meeting we had with so I participated in a TYE pitch competition, which is like a pitching accelerator program in Boston. So they had a few guest speakers come in, and I maintained connection with one of them who was like a Forbes 30 under 30, and I was he's a very impressive guy, and I was like, I just want to get his feedback on what our app is right now, at least like the concept of it, because by then we had a UI, we had like some basis of like, okay, this is what we're doing, this is the direction we're heading in. So we had that meeting. And he was not very pleased. He was like, you guys have no focus. I mean,
it was a good reality check.
It was a very good reality check.
I will say at this time, we kind of had like a lot of ideas, but it was just like a dump of ideas.
We
didn't
have our 4 pillars of like what we can market this as.
Scattered, if you will.
Yeah, it was really scattered.
We had a list of features, and that was about it.
A very long list of like very interesting features, but there weren't like these 4 pillars that we could consolidate them into. Like, what are the 4 things that you can talk about when someone asks you what this app is about?
We had no like elevator pitch. We just had like, again,
people would be like, yeah, give us your elevator pitch, and we'd be like, well, we have this feature, we have this feature, we have this feature, and they're like, yeah, but like why am I downloading it? I'm like, well, you have this feature, and they're like, yeah, but like.
I would add, I think we focused at that time more on features, less of the benefits you get. Like, I feel like now when we talk about our 4 pillars, it's like, here are the features and the benefits that you get from that.
And having those like 4 generalized terms, it really makes it easier to stick in someone's head. Instead of remembering 100 different features, you're like, okay, these are the 4 things this app does. It does these, and these are the benefits I can derive from it.
So to bring it back to meeting with a Forbes 30 under 30 individual to pitch to, what did that look like?
So again, we were going in with like little to no preparation, and it really shows like where we've come, because now we prepare a lot more. Because back then we didn't have, first of all, we had no experience. We had not even a half-baked product. And product idea at that point, and it was really just the UI and a vaguely rehearsed like pitch in my head. And so I signed up for like, he had like a Calendly, signed up for like a 30 to 45 minute block, and I was like, oh great, I get to meet with this guy, and it was pretty cool. But again, I was very scared. And then as soon as you started picking it apart, because I think we had like some vague mention of we're going to use AI in this app, because back like that was that was his reaction too. Because that's when ChatGPT was getting really big, and it was like
that's when it had just launched.
Fall of 2023.
Everyone's pitch for everything was, oh, we're gonna have AI.
Yep.
Like that was everyone's thing at the time.
And to go off topic for a second, isn't that funny how in fall of 2023, we are recording this March 1st of 2024, how quickly it went from AI being something that's super fascinating to like, shut up. Essentially, it's so interesting. But to go back to your story.
Yeah, so we like I said, he picked that apart really quickly. Even then, he was like, look, you're treating it like a gimmick. You don't have any useful application of it, which is, again, the issue with a lot of these like startup AI companies had then, because like now that ChatGPT is like consolidated and you can create a GPT for any purpose, like they had that same issue. So we were just kind of just throwing it in there and hoping it stuck and sounded really cool. And he was like, yeah, you don't do that. And he was like, you guys have no focus. You need to make it so that you have a specific points in which you can say that we're different from other platforms. That's really what it is. You have no defining purpose.
Interesting. So after you get this feedback from a very well-versed individual, what did you change? It sounded like a couple of you were in entrepreneurship classes. Was there anything else?
Yeah.
Well, that was like pre-college though. But
Yeah.
I mean, that really, as Jake mentioned, it was a reality check. We started figuring out
We
that, like,
we really started to try to brainstorm what is our defining like feature, like what is something that we can market and people will be like, oh, like I'm gonna download it because of like that. If it's just like one little feature, like remind the text back, people aren't gonna download it. But if it's something like huge, or there's a few big things, like coming up with that. And so we tried to come up with like that one big thing for a while, and we couldn't just like focus on one. So we're like, hey, we're gonna make like our 3 like big things, and then we later ended up adding the communities as well. But making those pillars definitely was in that like time period.
And I'd just like to say that, like, before 80%, like, not 80%, this isn't a real, like, statistic, but majority of people would be, like, the most opposition we'd receive is, like, okay, these features are cool, but there's nothing that really makes you, like, different, that sticks out to me in your head.
Yeah.
Whereas
Why
now,
am I downloading it?
Exactly. Whereas now, when we're sharing these, like, pillars, people are like, okay, that makes sense. And people are more agreeable with the concept.
Yeah, 100%. So you enter college now. Now we're officially freshman fall semester. Were there any pivotal points in ChitChat's development that you haven't really spoke on yet?
One thing I will say is I go to Babson, which is an entrepreneurship-focused school, and I take an entrepreneurship class, like, all year. It's called FME, Foundation of Management Entrepreneurship, their famous class. That, and for me at least, taught me a lot just on, like, entrepreneurship as a whole and startups. We had to do our own startup for that class, so I think that, for me, that taught me a lot just about the whole process.
I'd just like to go back a little bit. Like, before going to college, like, we sat down together and we were just like, okay, this is where we have the opportunity and we have to go in, network, and really push this because this is where we can do that.
This is where we could, and at this point we didn't have a developer either. So we're like, we need to find people to bring like to the team so we can really like full steam ahead, like get going. And so this was where I'm at NYU, and I'm not actually in the business program there. I'm there for film, which obviously is very different. And so like those people don't really know like CS. And so I went to the Entrepreneurship Center, which we have. It's a pretty small building, but they have these like team hunts. And so I ended up going one of like maybe the second or third week into school, and I wasn't really expecting anything. Like I was like, oh, if I find someone cool, but I have a feeling most of these people are just going to be trying to like recruit people to their teams. And so I went in, and it was actually like the first person I met, maybe first or second person I met, happened to be our head of development right now, Win, and he was going to recruit people for like his project. But I started talking to him about mine, and he ended up really, really liking it. And so I was like, well, why don't you just like join the team? Like this would be a lot of fun. And so he thought about it for like a day or two, but then he was like, yeah, like let's do it. And so then we brought him on, and that's really where we were able to start like migrating the app and progressing in coding.
So like what new developments came after Win came onto the team with the actual app and UI?
So at the time before, we had like that version, but it was very buggy and like unstable and stuff wasn't really working. And so since then, he's been able to he overhauled the UI like from the new one that we made. He added features like pin chats, and then just made everything better. Added like the new message stuff. Before it was like kind of weird to create a new message, so we have like a brand new UI for that. And so he really was just able to get like those little like nice to have features like change of life, good stuff to have in the app.
Nice. So to change topics a little bit, the team is spread out between 2 cities. We have 2 individuals in Boston and 2 individuals in New York City. What's it like having a somewhat hybrid team that's constantly working on ChitChat?
So one positive from being at different schools, the fact that we can all network at our own schools. And once we have the beta version out, once even the like apps on the App Store, we all have different communities that we can like market to, get them on it, you know? But of course it does come with difficulties. We all, as we mentioned, went to the same high school before, saw each other every day at school. So it was definitely a change, moving more online. Luckily, at least me and Kush are in the same city, so we go to some similar things.
The main thing is the events. I think that's tougher, like, because I can't make it out for those, but having them two in Boston really makes it easier, and they have those connections because of they're at like those business schools. But it's a lot of video calls, definitely. And Win was actually back in Taiwan for the past month, so the time difference with trying to like do calls was definitely difficult, but I think we made it work like the best that we could. And since then we've actually grown the team to a few other interns. We have like one at Brown, one at UC, and so we have a lot of like meetings together, and we're all pretty good about texting back. That's one of like the main things we say is like, it's okay like if you didn't do something, but just like communication is like key. And making sure everyone's on the same page.
With the interns, what roles are they filling right now?
Right now, it's just development. We are looking for UI people and even more developers. So anyone watching, if you are interested in the project and want to apply, you can email our recruitment email, recruitment@chitchatsocial.net. But yeah, we're always looking for more people. We just think the more people that you have and the more people that give input, the better product you're going to have, because having perspectives from different people in different places, from different cultures and stuff like that can really make the best product.
That is a good mindset. So as we move into like current times, essentially, what are like the primary focuses of ChitChat?
Well, I mean, at least going forward, like what are our current goals is obviously like getting the beta version like to the point where we can actually start giving it out to people. I mean, right now it works. You can send messages, but again, it's very buggy. So we're getting there. We're getting there. But also like growing our wait list so that we have more people to get it to, and so that people are keeping up with our story, keeping up with what we're doing, because ultimately the platform only works if your friends are on it, right? That's how platforms work, because you're only on it if your friends are using it.
Yeah. Kind of to talk about like marketing and the way we're trying to get the word out is we're focusing mostly on, I would say, like high school, college students, young adults, because that is the group of individuals that like, your friend has this app, you're going to get on that app, you know?
And people just like, people that are younger, like, they're more likely to change, and like they'll just download as many apps as they can on their phone can fit, and so
exactly. Like my parents' generation, for example, like they're on one app and they use Facebook Messenger, like they don't shift away from that, and of course like iMessage or whatever the main texting app is on their phone, but so that's why we're definitely targeting mainly that group of individuals, and since that age group tends to get their information from social media, we're focusing a lot on that. We have a Instagram, ChitChat Messenger, where we post like updates, what we're up to, as well as short clips from our ChitChat breakdowns, which is something that we post weekly every Sunday on our YouTube page.
Just kind of gives updates about what's going on in the company, but kind of from every aspect. So like we might be like, hey, like we were on a podcast this week, but then on the development side, we're implementing a new feature. And then from the CEO's standpoint, we're doing blah, blah, blah. So that way it kind of gives a whole like overall like updates from the company.
It allows people who are interested to like feel like they're in the loop, like stay up to date to everything, to like kind of build that excitement.
We're taking a lot of inspiration from the browser company. They started doing, they try to do it like weekly, but they also give updates about their company. And I saw that, and I just thought it's really cool with companies being transparent with like what's going on in the background, just so that people can be along for the journey and be like, hey, like back when that was like a nothing app, like they weren't even out yet, like I was watching them like build it. And I think it'll be really cool to look back in like 20 years and be like, hey, like we built that.
It's a cool way to build hype and promotion. Yeah.
That's definitely one thing, though, that is a little more challenging when we're not all together, because we have to, like, send each other videos. Or, like, I know our last one, both Kush had a section and Jake, so they had to, like, record separately, and we had to, like, combine the videos. That does make it a little challenging, but we've been working through it. Other than that, we have presence on TikTok. Again, we post, like, short clips. LinkedIn, because... you know, all the entrepreneurship business kids are on there.
Gotta love LinkedIn. Oh,
yeah.
Number one social media app.
Yeah. For sure. And then also we have some ideas for commercials. We have one commercial out already on our Instagram that Jake made, which the fact that Jake is a film major is actually really works for our advantage because he can create some bomb-ass videos that look really cool in my opinion. So
yeah, I think we'll come out with a few more commercials hopefully in like the summertime by the time we launch. And I think those hopefully will generate like a lot of hype and get a lot of views.
Yeah, we have some ideas already going, little lists. So
since entering college, have you come across any other helpful connections that's advanced ChitChat's development?
Yeah, one such individual was Wes Schroll. He's the CEO of Fetch Rewards, which is a rewards app. And he was a great resource. And it was really good hearing from him because he's pretty close to our age, and it's also a tech app. So it definitely helped us because it was someone in the space that really understood what we were trying to accomplish because he uses these apps too. He uses Snapchat and all these variety of apps. At least he knows of them. And it was definitely helpful for us because he really gave us some great advice on strategy-wise at least.
And he was able to get his app into the hands of users. And so that's going to be a big challenge for when we launch is getting our app into the hands of the users. And him, kind of like us, didn't code the app. And so he kind of gave us like strategies of how we might be able to find some developers to help us code as well, which was also pretty cool.
Another person that my professor introduced us to was a marketing specialist that spoke at our class, actually branding specialist. So we had a meeting with her, and she kind of really helped us narrow down like what we stand for, and we really were able to finalize our 3 to 4 pillars because, again, those kind of things are what people recognize about the brand ChitChat. This is what ChitChat is about, these 4 pillars. And that kind of stuff really helped set the precedent going forward for how we brand ourselves and how do we label ourselves. And then I think the most recent meeting we had was with actually the same individual's sister. She does social media marketing for a company in Boston. She gave us some really great feedback with that, and she gave us like 2 hours of time, which was really
very
really
generous,
helpful, very generous, and we're very grateful for that. For all these connections and resources that we've been able to get. That
inspired us to redo our website and gave us some new ideas for how we can market the brand and make it seem like we're a bigger brand than we are right now. So that way, once we get to that bigger brand status, we can keep having the same systems and make sure that we have good PR and stuff like that.
And also like how we can target like getting the app into people's hands. Like how are we going to approach our launch phases and our beta phases going
Definitely
forward?
want to build like a feeling of exclusivity because that's what a lot of apps have been doing now with like either you need an invite to get on or like to get on you have to invite a few like 3-5 people, stuff like that. We definitely want to do something like that.
And we've been really like talking about like how we want to go about it, and Jake can discuss this in more detail, but we want to have like a series of phases of beta phases that we allot to a different number of people and how we approach getting people on the app. And
I think to go on that about like the beta testing, I think in the next few months we're hopefully going to be able to send out a beta to like friends and family once we have a good working stable version, and then they can give us feedback of things that are missing that like we don't have, but then also if they do like the features that we have made. So for the ones that we're working on right now are going to be that Face ID, customization, and then sports scores in chat is going to be one of the big ones that hopefully we can go to investors and be like, hey, like these are like 3 brand new features that no one's ever done before. Like, what do you think? And so we're going to work towards that and getting to that point. And then hopefully we'll be able to launch like further down the road in like the fall-ish. Not 100% sure on that timeline, but yeah, bringing everything together and creating that web app as well, so that way no matter what platform you're on, you can message.
Are there any other short-term goals, I guess, relative to 2024 that ChitChat has?
Well, I'd say those fall like pretty in the 2024 realm. We're also like looking for funding because again, it's been a while and we've poured a lot of our own, Jake especially has poured a lot of his personal funds into the app. And getting some funding would be fantastic. And we're exploring a few different options for that.
We did try and do a Kickstarter. If you guys want to talk about that. That did happen.
That was pretty interesting because I feel like the biggest benefit we got from that was that it was actually a page that we could send people to because we really wrote out our story and what we were about, at least before we had the pitch deck.
Yeah.
But I mean, as for the Kickstarter, we didn't obviously like hit our goal, so we couldn't obviously get the funding that we had earned, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
And for timeline wise, that was back in June of 2023, so right before we all started our freshman year of college. And so that was kind of ongoing for the summer. And we kept trying to find developers during this time, but there wasn't a ton of progress on the coding front.
Do you intend to do another Kickstarter in the future or no?
We may do an Indiegogo. We actually got an email from someone that works at Indiegogo being like, hey, like you should like come to our platform and like do it. So we may reach back out to him at some point in the future. I think we just need to have like a solid product like demo ready to go before that.
Yeah, I mean that falls into our bucket of challenges with the development end, because first of all it's hard to get people excited about something that's not out yet, first of all, and we don't want to create false expectations about a timeline when we don't have the app completely ready yet. And that's the whole point of having these beta rounds, because first of all, like, we can test the different features, we can get the app working properly while slowly building our user base in a controllable way for us. And that was, again, one thing that like Wes said to us was that instead of trying to build all these features out, you should like start with your specific features and see what people are liking, what they're not liking, and build it out from there.
That's a good approach. 100%.
Sure.
Are there any longer term goals that ChitChat has? Past 2024, maybe 2025, 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Get the app on the App Store.
Get the hell
Okay.
out of that. I think we're hoping to really disrupt the disrupt like the market and start to take over. And so right now we're definitely going towards like the consumer market, like B2C. But in the future, we're going to hopefully move to a business model, and that's where hopefully we can make more of our money. And so working with other businesses to tailor to their needs. For something like a company maybe like UPS, like having some sort of tracking system for their packages where if they can message drivers to be like, hey, can you do this or whatever. But we can build them custom features just for their apps. But then also disrupting that Slack workspace area, because Slack is... people use it because it's like the only option for work, but their UI is very clunky, and they tried to do some integrations, but they haven't really kept up with it. And so if we can really move into that market and take over there, I think having one app and one like experience for both work and personal, I think will be really good for people.
And that being said, like the main approach to this was, first of all, like we want to keep the app free for the individuals that are using it. And obviously we need to get money so that we can keep the app going. We can keep it going for them and keep creating like developments that people love. And the way that we wanted to do that was we recognized that there's a need in this space where like businesses would benefit more from these custom integrations that we're creating for these for people.
And as we're moving away from email, like more and more people are moving away from email, companies are really starting to move over to these like chat apps.
Yeah, I mean, and that's because like you see the trend with millennials, Gen Z rising into executive positions, and we're going from we went from email to Slack, Discord, and hopefully ChitChat, and that's why we're designing a lot of organizational based features, so it works much better than the way that these channels and the way that Slack and Discord do it.
Also, we don't want to make our money off of like putting ads on the app, because who wants ads on their messaging app? So yeah, that was kind of an idea.
Yeah.
Definitely for the future, though.
I mean, for me, like idealistically, like I mean, obviously those are like objectives, but for me, it's just like I just want to be able to like talk with my friends on ChitChat and be able to like utilize all these cool features that we're doing, and it's working like fantastically, and like just see people around me just pull up ChitChat on their phone.
Yeah, walking down the street and seeing people messaging on it, I think will be a great point to be at. And I think we just need to come out with as many like integrations as possible, so that way people can stay in the app and use it. Because messaging is something that you do for a lot of your time, like during the year. How long was it? We have it like in our pitch deck. You spend like
15,000 something minutes per
Wow.
year, which is a whole week of nonstop messaging. And that's
Like,
not
if you
even
add up all
accounting
the
for like
minutes.
social media messaging. So
So if we can, find a way to break into that, and maybe even like cut it down, just because everything will be more like
it's more streamlined.
Yeah,
You're spending
exactly.
less
Yeah,
time
it's a more
bouncing
streamlined
back and forth. You're
between
spending,
apps.
Yeah.
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 And also like as we said, we have all these productivity features. It makes it better for not only just businesses but individuals. You can use it with your family. You can use it with your friends. You can use it with your clubs. So
yeah,
it
I can't wait to on my own phone have ChitChat and be able to use all these features that we're all talking about, and all the effort we're putting into it, and having it actually be a real thing.
I mean, I want to
really
see.
Exciting.
We talk about all these integrations where you can use all these different apps within, or well, not apps, but access different forms of content within it, like games and stuff like that. Just being able to see a whole bunch of those on our ChitChat store, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff, guys.
Keep
So,
an eye out.
with ChitChat's current stage, is there any chance I could demo the app?
Demo. I suppose we could do a demo.
All right, so I'm on the ChitChat app right now.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, now I'm on it as well. And so if you want to go ahead and create a new message,
Okay.
and then if you head up to the search button, you can
Yes.
search and just type in Jake.
Okay.
All right. So then you click at Jake, and then now
All
is
right.
there a little check mark?
Yes, I do.
So then do you
Have
see
a-
the Do you see the button? There should be a button at
Yeah.
the bottom. So you started the chat.
Hit arrow. Okay. I'm
and,
in.
And then now if you can just go to the text box and type in a message and then click the send.
Hello, Jake. Okay. And it says you're online too, which is cool.
Yeah, so yeah, that online indicator will let you know if other users are online. And so now I just got it. And so I can see here it says from Philip, hello, Jake. So if I click on that, I can be like, hi.
Okay,
And
awesome.
Did it pop up?
Yes.
Perfect.
Awesome.
And so yeah, now we can message back and forth. You'll be able to click on the top right icon. All right, so if you click on the top, oh,
Now it's
yeah. Then now we're in the message info screen, and so that'll have more info later on. If we have a group chat, so I'll make a group chat right now, or do you want to do it? If you click on new message again,
yeah, okay, I'll make a new message right now.
You can
and
add
then
me too.
you can
I'm on
add
there.
you can do Kush,
Okay.
and then you can do my account again, and
I
so
clicked. And I'm gonna add Jake. Okay, so I have both of you.
and you should click next, and
Yes.
then now you can enter in a group name, and you can even add a picture if you want as well.
Collegepreneur.
Oh yeah. And so then that way, obviously it'll note when you get notified, it'll tell you the group chat name, and then show you that little icon as well. So let's say you have two of the same name, or you just want to have some fun and customize it,
Yeah.
you can do that.
Very clean UI. Very,
you.
very clean.
We've spent a lot of time on it. None of us are UI designers, so we're hopefully going to have some more UI designers that can help us tweak things in the future.
Yeah.
To make it the most streamlined UI and UX possible. But yeah, for now, thank you. We appreciate that.
Cool stuff.
Oh, there it
Awesome.
is.
Yeah, now we have the message. And so we can click into there, and then again, if you click on that message info, you can add people or remove them as well. Now, that's that's the demo. It's
Awesome.
not too much right now, but we just transitioned from Google Firebase over to AWS, and so that was taking a lot of time. But now we actually do have a start on that scoreboard stuff and the Face ID stuff, so we're hopefully going to have that done soon. Those interns have been working on that, and Wynn's been doing some housekeeping items and really making sure that AWS transition is working well. But yeah, we're going to hopefully keep pushing forward for a launch later this year, and hopefully we can get this out into as many people's hands as possible.
Yeah, exciting
Awesome.
stuff.
And if you're interested in being one of the first people to get it in your hands, go to chitchatsocial.net and sign up for the waitlist.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Watch the ChitChat breakdown.
Is
Yeah.
there anywhere else that the audience can find ChitChat?
You can find us on pretty much every platform, but I would say YouTube, Instagram,
TikTok, LinkedIn,
and our
our
website.
website, yeah.
Where our website chitchatsocial.net. I know we've said a lot.
Very
Is
proud of the website.
our main way we communicate things. But also make sure you get subscribed to the Collegepreneur podcast and hit that like
Yeah.
button on this episode.
Thank you.
We want to get this episode out to everyone, and make sure you share it with all your friends. And stay tuned for future episodes of the Collegepreneur podcast.
Thank you so much, Jake. All right. Have a great rest of your day, guys.
You too. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.